Thank you for staying with us. It is still iBrandTV's Democracy Day special, and right now we're about to delve into the meat of the day, and that is, of course, talking about the democracy that we're celebrating today. Of course, it was June 12 yesterday, but today is in commemoration of the day, the significance of the day. Apart from the period 1967 to 1970, when Nigeria experienced civil strife, June 12, 1993 would also remain politically indelible in the post-independence annals of the nation. About 29 years after, it is still a year that shapes Nigeria's political foray. The day has now become a milestone for historians and political analysts to pinpoint when x-raying the political surgeon of Africa's most populous country. But one man, even in death, has become the face of that era. He also serves as a symbol of Nigeria's democratic experiences arising from the upheavals of that year. Well, to help us look at the struggle, life and times of MKO Abiola, we still have in the studio Mazi Chinedum Obioha, as well as Mr. Adeniro Debo. Thank you so much for staying with us, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
Now let's begin with the life of MKO Abiola. I'm going to start with Mazi this time. What exactly would you describe as the significance of what June 12, 1993 stands for?
Thank you once again. June 1993 stood for then and should stand now as justice, love, equity, and fairness. That day, I remembered that particular day. My father was in the village, and I was in Lagos. He made a fight before 5 a.m. He said, I want to go out and vote for Abiola. Everybody, I want to go and vote for Abiola. That was the best election we ever had. And I pray that we may experience it this time around. The significance of it is that we have lost the purpose of that June 12, Abiola himself. We've lost justice, we have lost fairness, we have lost equity. It's unfortunate that Abiola, of blessed memory, seeing what is happening now, if the dead could see, he won't be happy. He'll begin to ask himself, is it the same country I fought for? At the mention of Abiola, I remember when it was assumed, even the result was not concluded, the price of everything went down completely. I'm an Igbo man. Completely. See joy, happiness. See quietness everywhere. And people were jubilating. Don't forget that he's a Muslim. Don't forget that his vice president was a Muslim. But nobody bothered about that. But there are a lot of impunity now that was not there. Corruption now. My good friend here will say much about the corruption. And he will not be happy to see the type of strife, quarrels, wars that is going on now. He begin to ask himself, is it what I fought for? He won't be happy. Now, this man had friends all over the country. All over the country. He had money, and he used the money to empower people. He had, to the best of my knowledge, he had Concord newspaper, he had Concord Airlines, he had so many things. He built houses all over, and again, he had so many children all over, he had so many wives all over, and people were happy. So, it was an epitome of love and unity. But now, all these things have eluded us because of the same crop of people that I describe as the horns that trouble Israel. But we'll get it right. So, June 12 remain fresh in our memory. And whenever election is coming, every average Nigerian, those of us who witness it, will say, I wish. During that time, everybody was happy going out to vote. But today, people are playing football on the pitch, and they say our vote don't count.
Let me come to Mr. Adeniran. Now, if you look at the June 12, 1993 elections, it was adjudged the freest and fairest election in Nigeria so far. Now, over 20 years down the line, we seem to have not been able to get something even close to what we had in June 12, 1993. What do you think went wrong? And why did it take so long for us to acknowledge? It was President Muhammad Buhari that eventually acknowledged in 2018 that June 12, 1990, or June 12 should be the Democracy Day, as against the May 29 it was celebrated before.
Thank you very much, but I disagree with you. I don't know if a poll has been carried out to say that it was adjudged the freest.
That's why the word adjudged is used.
Well, whatever.
You don't think it was the freest?
I don't think so.
Okay.
And I said it even before June 12. The struggle has been on for, what do you call it now? Entrenchment of democracy in Nigeria. That was when campaign for democracy was on the front burner.
Okay.
I was the vice president, vice assistant secretary of campaign for democracy. What led to that is because we were yearning for true democracy. Now, if you remember all the processes that led to June 12, it's everything but anti-democratic practices. Several associations, political associations that wanted to transmit into political parties were banned. Several politicians that wanted to contest elections were banned. The military head of state then wanted to transmit to civilian president. You know, along the line, he didn't want to do it. He knew that people were tired of military rule. So he knew that if he just staged a coup,
MKO. Remember MKO?
No, military president was Ibrahim Babangida.
Okay.
Now, before then, it was Buhari.
Yes.
You know, Idiagbon. People thought that it was too tough for them. Then, along the line, IBB, that is Ibrahim Babangida, kept on changing the transition program. What do you call transition program? That we will transit from military. There was a hierarchy. We have National Assembly.
Yes.
Part of that National Assembly is this this candidate for APC. He was in the Senate in 1992. Now, along the line, it kept on changing the transition program. And the late Alawa Kabashorun came up with the mantra. There was a hidden agenda behind all of this changing of transition program. That in itself is undemocratic. That some politicians were banned from contesting election because they are still Nigerians, it was undemocratic. That political associations were banned was undemocratic. That two parties were formed for the people by the military was undemocratic. That manifestos and programs of political parties were done by the military for the people was undemocratic. That the constitution with which it was grown norm of any democratic practice was done for us by the military without inviting us, without considering our opinion. Obasanjo that came to power later didn't even know the content of the constitution before he came to power because the constitution wasn't ready by that time. So all of these were undemocratic. Now, even the option A4 wasn't democratic. You know why? Because people know who you are voting for. Of course, it should be a secret thing. You have the right to privacy. That your right to privacy was denied you was undemocratic. And let me now tell you that before then, all of the bannings seemed to be a ploy by Ibrahim Babangida to clear way for MKO Abiola. MKO Abiola is an enigma, as it were, because before then, if you remember in 1989, before that period, ITT, International Telecommunication, whatever, was brought down in Djibouti. Why? Because people thought Abiola was an agent of imperialism, agent of that he was working for American Secret Service. Okay, and because they also identify him as a friend to the military in Nigeria, because they thought, I don't know if it happened,
but
they
it was
alleged
also,
that. So
sorry to butt in, it was also close to President Shagari, Shehu Shagari.
well, a number of things did happen.
Yep.
So he was close to so many people. But the truth is this: he was presumed to have sponsored a number of coups.
Yes.
And a number of things happened, but along the line he became the pillars of sports in Africa.
Okay.
So people love him for that. He championed reparations.
Yes.
I know you
Yeah,
have
so-
a lot of,
Okay.
you know, facts and figures to prove
So I
that,
just want to
to discredit the fact that that election was the freest
but I want
and
to
fairest.
talk about Abiola being a champion of
Yes, you will talk about it, but I'd like to
Okay.
hear Mazi's thoughts. Mazi, the popular opinion is that the 1993 election, June 12, was the freest and fairest. But looking at all of the indices and factors that Mr. Adeniran just listed, what are your thoughts?
What he has said just were all pre-election problems. But what the question asks is that particular election. Also agree with him that a lot of things happened. What he has just narrated are untold stories. Untold stories. Very, very right. But judging from the opinions of Nigerians, what we can see, we all agreed that that June 12 election was the freest.
But how about the electoral process that bettered the election itself?
Yeah, I agree with you. But remember, there was a comment Abiola made that also may have affected his formerly being announced as the president.
Yes.
He said he can win election without the East. Right? And that was why the late Zeribe went to the court and obtained, well, what I say, kangaroo judgment or something like that. Judgment is a judgment, according to the lawyers. They say, no matter whether you got judgment from the bedroom or whatever, provided it is pronounced judgment, you have to set it aside. And the Zeribe went to the court, high court, and I'm also sure that Zeribe was part of the truncating of 1993 election, because he went to the court and asked the court to set it
vacate
aside.
the, yes.
So to an average Nigerian who was living, who is still living now, that election was joint. Because the option A4 was, I'm wearing this watch. I don't need you to bring light for me to see it. People now queued behind their loved ones and they voted and it was counted. Remember, many a times, even the Nigerians have clamored for option A4 presently. I agree with him, sorry, that
Sorry.
a lot of people were disallowed. I want to now agree with the idea of banning some people presently, because they have been the one constituting this problem in Nigeria. So my own conclusion, because I'm entitled to my opinion, is that that election was the best, and I don't see if we can get nearer, because there was no toggery, there was no snatch of ballot boxes, there was no writing result in your bedroom or in a hotel, there was no pronouncement of the winner in anywhere. It was done rightly, and we believe that, like my friend said, these are untold
Yes,
stories, which he said he has found. I agree with him, he has found. I also knew that there were so many wrongs before then, but that election that day was right.
You have the floor, sure.
Thank you very much. Of course, Zeribe led Association for Better Nigeria,
Yes, Better
and Basi Impeme sat almost in the middle of the night, you know, to give that judgment. You see, all of these things are anti-democratic practices. Then, when you look at the pitching of an Abiola, who's a global philanthropist, was popular everywhere in Nigeria. Everybody knew him. Against a Bashir Tova. I mean, yeah, that's his name.
Yes.
Oh, no. Who is almost very obscure. Not many people knew him before that election. And the ground had been cleared ahead of him. The military from Grapevine thought, I mean, that is IBB, who was the military president
Yes,
then,
at the time.
was thinking that being a friend, he will win that election, but succumb the reign of governance to him.
So,
But along the line, remember his slogan, Hope 93, and was it abolition of poverty and
Yes.
all of this, got into the mind of people. Like he said the other time, prices of essential commodities came down. Before then, you know that people have to queue for essential commodities. Buhari made it so that, look, you cannot hoard essential commodity and all that. So when Buhari was toppled, things went awry again. The hoarders started hoarding essential commodities for the people.
structural adjustment
And
program.
exactly, so because it was Buhari that brought why.
Why? Yeah.
So when
Why?
Babangida came, he
Did
brought SAP.
structural adjustment
SAP
program.
is a story for another day, because Nigerians rejected loan from IMF, but the conditionalities were so stringent. You have to rational, and that is why education is diving now. Our healthcare system, because these are some of the conditionalities that Babangida said we have to implement. People didn't like that. But Babangida seemed to have an agreement with IMF that we are going to decapitate Nigeria economy in order for them to continue to flare, because the developed countries don't want Nigeria to develop, knowing that we have all the resources to counteract them. But then Abiola now came out now said that he want to actualize pro-people governance. It is not also true that option A4 was the one that did magic. It was people became disenchanted about the political process, knowing that it was leading to nowhere. Only 14 million people came out of the then eligible 60 million Nigerians. 14 million people voted.
We still have that happening.
So
a minute percentage of the people vote.
Well, this is because of the voter apathy for one reason or the other. So if it is happening,
so
it means that it wasn't
for a long
fair.
time.
Less than 12% of people voted for all of us. It's been happening, so it is still undemocratic. So basically, what I am saying is that what they call Democracy Day should have been MKO Abiola Day, because he is the one that committed class suicide, and class suicide that he committed led to developmental suicide. I mean, I gave it a name some time ago, that eventually, because he stood by the people, he was eliminated, and since then we have not gotten it right.
Okay. So I see your point. You're saying that it's not total democracy.
It is not
but
the
it's
process.
about the sacrifices MKO Abiola made.
Yeah, that is the sacrifices that he made that stood that out. So we should not give credit to Humphrey Nwosu, who headed the NEC, who could not announce the results when he has got it, or IBB, that they organized the best election. No, they shouldn't have that.
Mazi, you know the death, let's talk about the sad death of MKO Abiola in incarceration. A lot of people have said that this death was not natural, that he was murdered in prison. What are your thoughts on that? Even his doctor, before he died, said it was not natural.
Yeah, every living being knew that his death wasn't natural. And that is why they are warning some people to be very careful. Power intoxicates. Absolutely, power intoxicates.
Absolutely.
Power comes from God. And that is why I have to be very cautious of what I say, what I do. Yes, actually, remember that morning he took his tea, breakfast and things like that. and something went wrong. Only God knew what happened. But the generality of the opinion is that it wasn't a natural death. And I remember I was coming back from Sele that day. I see everywhere. The bus I boarded, the windscreen was scattered back and front, and they were stoning every human being. So I think something went wrong. Not quite long, the wife was also murdered. That will tell you the wickedness of man, the wickedness of politicians. And up to now, we have not been able to see those, to arrest those who were arrested. What about Delegiwa? Was it not Paso bomb that killed him? So you asked me, yes, I agree with them that it wasn't natural.
But we've not unraveled it.
We have not been able to unravel it. But then only God knows when it will be. People have been clamoring for further investigation and things like that, but I don't know. The answer is that his death wasn't natural.
Mr. Adeniro, let's wrap up with lessons from June 12, 1993. What are the lessons the Nigeria of today can pick from that election?
Thank you. The first lesson is that somebody can win election if Nigerians adjudge him to be good, and they believe in his program, his manifestos, his agenda, and his personality. His track record will speak for him, and his courage, you know, will speak for him. Like I told you, a lot of people saw MKO as an enemy of the people, but that changed. So it's another lesson that people thought that you were bad doesn't mean that the impression or the assumption will last long if you take practical steps to wrong the rights that people attribute to you. Then that it is also possible that we forget about all of these primordial considerations in getting things right. If the politicians are not allowed to pollute the mind of the people against each other. He said the other time that, look, some people came up with a statement of hate for certain part of this country. If that was not allowed, it couldn't have generated to the level of, look, we must be president or vice president. Again, I also want to subscribe to what Mazi said, that maybe it was time that some politicians be banned, but then not banned without certain parameters. Those who have criminal records, because if you are a thief, you will and you have profited from thieving before, you won't want to leave that line. You are a beneficiary of fraud. You will always want to commit fraud. So anybody that has those criminal records of corruption, of economic sabotage, of financial crimes, and all of that should not be allowed to contest election anymore, ever after, once they have been convicted of corruption crimes. Then all of the collaborators of those who brought us to this sorry state, in the judiciary, in the law enforcement agencies, in anti-corruption agencies that have been caught, should not be allowed to go back to. Now, any governor that has spent up to 8 years, 2 terms of office, should not be allowed to spend any other time in any democratic related event, because he has spent his terms.
Won't that be disenfranchisement?
What?
Won't that be disenfranchisement?
It won't be, to the extent that even serving as a governor.
He has extended the 2 terms as governor.
Exactly.
Senate.
So
something else.
We have
what they have now is like they are using the Senate as a
Retirement
or a
home.
retirement home.
But that's not against the
for this
Constitution.
man. And because the present constitution is what we are trying to amend, okay, all of these things we are saying are not in the present constitution. And I told you that it is a constitution that was not enacted by the people for themselves. So
we
we
have to
should
start
re-engineer
rejigging
it.
the
That, look,
constitution.
what again can you do that you have not been able to do as a governor? You are the chief executive of
All right,
the
I'll
state.
take that as your final thoughts, Mr. Adeniro. Let me hear Maz's final thoughts.
You did
I agree no less with him completely. And I want to call for a new Nigerian constitution. This constitution is not Nigerian constitution. Mention about the governors. Are you happy what is happening? A governor that spent 8 years. Now, in the next dispensation, he's going back to the Senate. The Senate is now made to be the retirement area of the military, the governors, and all what have you.
And to make laws that
Then,
will protect their
then
loops.
even their children, their wives, their relatives, there should
it's
be
not
a
a monarchy.
standard.
Quickly,
So I think
democracy advocates for enfranchisement. If you are saying that they should be restricted, that's a form of disenfranchisement and it negates what we're celebrating today.
there should be law that will checkmate all these things. That is the injustice. Even the civil service. Why are you not getting good jobs? Because some elderly people.
You can't have
at my
absolute
age,
democracy.
Yes, you can't have it.
Okay.
Yeah.
People of my age, 70 now, that are still in the public service.
And just as we wrap
even the
up-
police force, in the military.
Just as
is,
we-
is it right?
Just as we wrap up this discussion, it seems both of you agree that this constitution should be ditched and we should have a new one. Do you subscribe to the notion that we should adopt that of 1963, which some quarters have deemed the best?
No.
Okay.
The truth is that things have developed beyond 1963 constitution. Even the technology, we have to find a way of adopting a system that will accept new technology as a kind of normal process of governance. And everybody that has a stake in Nigeria will subscribe to that. What I was saying about the governors, what they can aspire to become could be the president, but not to go into the Senate or no, because they will make laws. Many of them have looted their states. They have not cleared it. They are now weakening the laws that could catch up with them. That exactly is the reason why they go to the National Assembly.
Thank you very much. Thank you
That's
for the in-depth analysis. Mazi Chinedum Obioha, thank you for your time on iBrandTV. And thank you so much, Mr. Debo Adeniro, for your time.
Thank you. I met you for the first time.
Good to meet you.
Thank you very much.
All right, we'll take a break now. That was a very extensive talk about today's Democracy Day celebration, and we hope that the dividend of democracy will definitely be extended to the people. We'll take a break now. When we come back, the conversation continues. Please stay with us.